Jim, this next question was sent to CornyDriveThru@gmail.com from Will in Illinois. If you were an aspiring wrestler in today's landscape, and you are seriously committed to making a living in this business, and you are also serious about not being associated or involved with anything like invisible men, invisible hand grenades, dance routines, etc., where would you draw the line in terms of what bookings you accept and when and where to speak out in objection to said BS? Just starting out, obviously you have pretty much zero leverage, and you may have to be careful as in regards to burning bridges with anyone. So do you just make sure that you personally don't allow yourself to be booked in any of the above hokey, embarrassing bullshit? Or do you go a step further and make sure that you don't appear on any shows or work for any promotions that are known for said bullshit? Or taking it further and say you won't work on any show that uses wrestlers who have done such BS in previous promotions? This third option would pretty much mean you could not work for AEW or WWE.
You couldn't work for anybody.
So maybe that would be too hard a line to draw. Still, I sympathize with anyone out there trying to chase their dreams in this crazy business without getting the modern stank on them.
See, that's the thing, is that especially guys that are starting out, you know, they don't have to wholeheartedly, full-throatedly jump into this and just have the time of their lives while they're doing routines in slow motion. Ricky Morton actually told me that. It was several years ago now. At some fan fest, he said, I was in a match the other night. It was a 6-man tag or whatever, and they said, watch what we're going to do. And they started running a spot in slow motion. And he's standing there looking at them like they have turds hanging out of their mouth, and they were like, oh, wasn't this great? Obviously, you don't ever have to go that far or, you know, volunteer to work with the Invisible Man or whatever the case. But the sad fact is, especially guys starting out that don't have any leverage because they're not stars, they're not names, they wouldn't necessarily be, they might be talents, but they might not be recognized as such, and they might not be more important on the card as somebody else, has to do what they or work where they have to work these days. That's why, I mean, much less the, you know, the embarrassment of you go out and fit all those criteria. You're serious and you got talent and you want to do good and be a star of the business, and you have to go out and follow, you know, the fat fucking 40-year-old clown that's, you know, running the show, or the goddamn 62-pound children that did the trampoline routine, or the Invisible Man, or whatever the case. And it's sad, but that's unfortunately, I mean, it was several years ago when I was still doing, you know, dates that I would have to ask even people I knew, who was the only people I was really working for, still is the Invisible Man going to be booked? Is everybody going to be serious there? Is there going to be teleportation? And, you know, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. And, you know, I fault the guys for doing, or anybody for doing shit with blow-up dolls and underage children and the Invisible Man or teleporting to another dimension or whatever. But, you know, honestly, sometime you're going to have to, that's on national television. There's goddamn quality talent being forced to work with pockets. So, of course, on your local indie, there's going to be bullshit because almost nobody that runs a wrestling business anymore is in any way serious about it.
Is the problem the wrestlers or the promoters?
Both. The promoters who book it and allow it, and the wrestlers, the section of them that want to do the shit. And then the promoter, because chances are he's either one of the boys or wants to be, he'll let him do it because, oh, that's so funny.
Do you think if you were a promoter today, not necessarily you, but if you were a younger person who was into wrestling and somehow you became a promoter, do you think it would be a difficult task to tell these guys, I really don't want you to do that on my show?
Well, only if I was one of the promoters that was not paying them anything and they were doing it for free. Because if I was paying them, then it becomes a fucking different relationship. And then I tell them what they can or can't do. even if it's $5. So at that point, see, that's another thing that happened when I took a few years away from goddamn wrestling and turned back around, and suddenly the booker's directions or the booker's instructions became the booker's suggestions. So no, it's not hard at all. If you're the promoter and you've run the show, you've rented the building, and you're paying the guys, they need to have the fucking match. If you say no juice, no juice. If you say no chairs or no fighting in the crowd, don't get my ass sued. Everybody in the ring has to be visible. Don't take bumps from the social distancing match where you're 6 feet away from the guy taking a bump for him. Fuck you. You won't get paid. And you'll never be back. Wrestle and have matches and finish them in approximately the time we ask you to. And the right guy needs to win. And then you will be paid and booked again. Fuck. It's the marks that are the promoters that are the bigger marks, because they're the wrestlers now, and not all of them. There's the MJFs that are actually businessmen, but the wrestlers want to have the thrill of goddamn wrestling, and that's why they do that, so they can perform, because everybody can play. And the promoters, because they don't have the physical characteristics to wrestle, or they've got a little bit more money and they're bigger marks, they're the ones that put their own money into it to let the fucking their friends play at their expense. So I blame everybody.
Certainly, if you are someone who is seriously minded about professional wrestling, it can't be an easy time the last decade or so, but especially right now to break into the business, because like you said, where are you going to work? Who's promoting the independent shows that are serious, that don't have goofy shit? There aren't too many.
Now, and then, unfortunately, there's the performance center, if you're lucky enough to get signed to the WWE system, but then you learn one way in one place in one direction, and you don't get the opportunity of working an actual legitimate territory, or as we've talked about, the whole pecking order of things. And so, yeah, I mean, there's no wonder most everybody sucks, because where are you going to go to fucking figure it out to begin with?